This is why school teachers and public officials in Chicago disagreed on COVID-19 protocols. Public schools in Chicago started their new school year on January 3, 2022, with in-person learning. There are more than 340,000 students in the district. However, members of the Chicago Teachers Union were concerned about the rise in COVID-19 cases due to the Omicron variant and wanted to switch to remote learning, saying the district had not done enough to mitigate the spread of COVID-19 cases in schools. On January 4th, 73% of members of the Chicago Teachers Union, which has more than 25,000 members, voted in favor of remote learning instead of in-person learning, deciding that they would not be going into the classroom. The union said it would end the work action when one of two conditions were met: surging COVID-19 case numbers came down, or Chicago Public Schools signed an agreement establishing conditions for return that the union's House of Delegates approved of. However, officials for the district, Chicago Public Schools, disagreed with the union's work action, and in a statement claimed it was an illegal work action. On January 5th, Chicago Public Schools canceled classes while the district negotiated with the Chicago Teachers Union. The district's chief executive officer, Pedro Martinez, said that the staff who didn't show up to in-person teaching would not be compensated. Chicago Public Schools officials said they supported in-person learning because it provided the ideal learning environment for students. They also said remote learning placed a burden on families to find childcare. However, the Chicago Teachers Union argued in favor of starting the school year on January 12th with remote learning, and then they would start in-person learning less than a week later, on January 18th, barring a significant rise in COVID-19 cases. During the negotiations, members of the Teachers Union made attempts to log into their workstations remotely, but they claimed Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot locked staffers out. On January 9th, the mayor said that the Teachers Union had engaged in an illegal walkout. On the morning of January 10th, in response to being locked out of their workstations, members of the Teachers Union held a teach-out and helped sign up students for COVID-19 testing. Union members and supporters, including Chicago Public Schools, parents, and community members, held a car caravan converging at Chicago City Hall. Later in the day, Chicago Teachers Union leaders reached a tentative agreement with the mayor's office, and the union's House of Delegates voted to suspend the work action. Union members will likely vote on the tentative agreement later in the week. Teachers returned to work in person on January 11th to prepare for school, and on January 12th, students were back in classrooms across Chicago. Chicago Public Schools did not agree to some of the teachers' union's top demands, like starting in-person learning on January 18th, or requiring opt-out COVID testing, which means students are automatically allowed to be tested for COVID-19 unless parents have opted out. However, Chicago Public Schools did agree to randomly test 10% of students and staff weekly, and it compromised with the teachers union on when to shut down schools, depending on how many students and staffers had COVID-19 or were in quarantine due to exposure. The current daily average of the COVID-19 test positivity rate in Chicago is 17.9% as of January 11, 2022. There are more than 2,230 adults and more than 9,200 students in Chicago Public Schools in quarantine as of January 11th. While Chicago Public Schools resolved this debate over the best course for its students, other school districts are facing similar problems. The issue of how to respond to COVID-19 cases in public schools is not going away anytime soon.